Have you ever thought about this? That a single human being, with nothing but paper, could change the way the world sees itself? Now imagine, the year is 1513. The world feels unfinished. The oceans are not blue. They are black, endless, cold, terrifying. Ships disappear without a trace. Storms swallow entire crews, and many people still believe the edge of the world might be real. Back then, a map wasn't just a tool. A map was survival. One wrong line, and your ship becomes a grave. One wrong coast, and your crew never returns. And in that era, without satellites, without GPS, without modern science, a man appears, an Ottoman sailor, a captain, a hunter of horizons. His name was Piri Reis. He carried a sword, yes, but his most dangerous weapon wasn't steel, it was information. And he draws a map, but not an ordinary map. This map looks too accurate, too clean, too confident, almost as if someone had looked down from the sky, seen the earth from above, and traced it onto paper. And then comes the strangest part. This map doesn't become famous. It doesn't change the world immediately. Instead, it vanishes. It hides in history like a ghost for more than 400 years, until one day, 1929, in the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, someone discovers an old map, dusty, forgotten, rolled away like it never mattered. But the moment researchers unfold it, they freeze. Because what they see shouldn't be possible. The coast of Africa, drawn with shocking precision, the Atlantic, the Caribbean islands, the shores of South America, drawn centuries before the world should have known them this clearly. And suddenly the question hits like lightning. How could a man in 1513 know this much? There were no airplanes, no satellites, no global navigation, only wind, only waves, only death. So where did the knowledge come from? And then, the map itself begins to speak. Because Piri Reis wrote notes on it, he practically leaves a message for the future. I did not invent this. He says he gathered information from many sources: Portuguese maps, Arab maps, ancient Greek knowledge. And then, one name appears like a warning sign: Christopher Columbus. Yes, Columbus, the man credited with discovering the New World. Piri Reis claims he used maps connected to Columbus himself. And that changes everything, because Columbus's maps were not common, not public, not something just anyone could find. Which means Piri Reis wasn't just a sailor. He was a collector, a connector, a man who hunted scattered fragments of knowledge across the seas, like a detective, like intelligence, like obsession. But now, we reach the claim that drives people insane. The question that turns this map into a legend. Does the Piri Reis map show Antarctica? Antarctica was officially sighted centuries later. So how could it appear in a map from 1513? Is it a misunderstanding? A distorted coastline? Or something darker? Something more mysterious? What if discovery isn't always discovery? What if it's remembering? What if humanity once knew more than we admit and lost it? Because this map doesn't just show geography. It suggests a terrifying idea. That some knowledge didn't evolve, it disappeared. And today, we're going to open that map. We're going to follow the ink. And we're going to ask the most dangerous question of all. What did Piri Reis really know? And why? Was this map hidden for centuries? Now, let's uncover the truth. Before we talk about the map, we need to understand the man behind the ink. Because Piri Reis was not just a cartographer. He was a sea captain who treated geography like a weapon. His real name was Ahmed Muhyiddin Piri, and he lived in the Ottoman world of the late 15th and early 16th centuries, when oceans were not blue and peaceful, but dark and deadly, when ships vanished and storms erased men without leaving names behind. He did not learn navigation in classrooms. He learned it on deck, with salt in his eyes and wind in his lungs, watching coastlines emerge through fog, memorizing currents, reading the sky, and surviving mistakes that could kill an entire crew. He grew up in the Mediterranean, a sea that was more battlefield than water, where Ottomans, Venetians, Spaniards, and Portuguese fought for trade routes and power, and in that world a map was not art, it was life itself. One of the most important forces shaping him was his uncle, Kemal Reis, a legendary Ottoman admiral feared across the sea, and Piri sailed with him, learning warfare, ports, routes, winds, hidden bays, and the true value of information. He saw that the most precious treasure captured from an enemy ship was not gold or jewels, but paper, charts, notebooks, foreign maps, and navigation records. And he began collecting them like a hunter who knows that knowledge can win wars faster than steel. Piri Reis developed the mind of a connector, someone who did not simply travel but gathered fragments of the world, compared them, combined them, corrected them, and turned scattered secrets into usable truth. He drew maps not like a fantasy artist, but like a survivor, someone who had felt the sea trying to kill him and knew exactly how small a ship becomes when the horizon goes black. That is why his work feels unusually real for its time, because it comes from experience, not imagination, and because it was built on constant observation, repetition, and risk. He wasn't only mapping coastlines, he was building an intelligence network of geography, learning from Portuguese sources, Arab knowledge, older Greek traditions, and even clues connected to Columbus, because in that era, exploration was also competition, and every coastline was a prize. His greatest written work, Kitab al-Bahriye, the Book of the Sea, proved he was more than a mapmaker because it was a detailed guide to the Mediterranean with ports, hazards, winds, reefs, and routes, a manual that could save fleets and decide victories. As his reputation grew, he rose in rank, became an admiral, and held real authority, but history often punishes genius with politics, and in the Ottoman court, success created enemies as quickly as failure created accusations. In the end, after conflicts, pressure, and power struggles, Piri Reis was executed, a tragic fate for a man who gave his empire something priceless, a way to understand the world. Yet his death did not erase him, because his maps survived, and they carry the same haunting question across centuries. How did he know so much, so early, and how did he turn a sea of chaos into lines of knowledge that still shock us today? The 1513 Piri Reis map is famous because it feels like something that should not exist in its time. Because when people see it, they don't just see ink on parchment, they see confidence, precision, and a level of geographic awareness that looks almost modern. It matters first because of its date, because 1513 is still early in the age of exploration, an era when oceans were still feared, coastlines were still half unknown, and many parts of the world existed more as rumor than reality. So a map from that year should look crude, vague, and uncertain, yet this one doesn't. It shows the Atlantic world with dramatic clarity. It sketches the western coasts of Africa. It reaches across the ocean to the Caribbean, and it outlines the shores of South America with a boldness that makes historians pause, because it suggests the mapmaker was working with high-quality information at a time when information moved slowly and was guarded like treasure. The map became legendary not only for what it shows, but for how it was found, because it vanished for centuries and then reappeared like a ghost, discovered in 1929 inside the Topkapi Palace, rolled away and forgotten among archival collections. And the moment scholars unfolded it, it created shock, not because it was beautiful, but because it was usable. What makes it even more fascinating is that the map is not a single invention, but a collage of sources. Because Piri Reis wrote notes on the map itself, explaining that he combined many older charts, including Portuguese and Arab maps, and even materials connected to Columbus, which means the 1513 map is like a compressed database of early global knowledge, gathering scattered secrets into one sheet. This detail changes everything because it reveals that Piri Reis was not guessing, he was collecting, comparing, and refining, and his map represents the hidden network of navigation intelligence that existed among sailors, empires, merchants, and captains. The map is also famous because it contains mistakes and distortions that spark debate, because parts of South America appear stretched and exaggerated, coastlines curve in strange ways, and the southern section becomes a mirror for mystery, with some people claiming it resembles Antarctica. while historians argue it is more likely a distorted continuation of South America, and that debate itself keeps the map alive, because it turns a piece of history into an endless question. The idea of Antarctica is powerful not because it is proven, but because it feels impossible, and humans are obsessed with impossible things. So the map became a magnet for theories, from lost ancient civilizations to secret pre-modern exploration, even though the most grounded explanation is simply this. Early map-making often combined correct information with distorted scale, and when different source charts were stitched together, the edges became strange. But even without the Antarctica claim, the map remains extraordinary because it reveals how fast knowledge was moving in the early 1500s, and how empires competed not only with swords, but with information, because a correct coastline could save ships, win battles, and control trade, and therefore maps were weapons. The 1513 map is famous because it shows that discovery was never just one hero stepping onto a shore. It was an ecosystem of stolen charts, traded rumors, copied manuscripts, and hard-earned experience. And Piri Reis captured that ecosystem in ink. It is famous because it proves that the sea had its own secret internet, a network of captains and routes where information traveled in fragments, and those fragments could be assembled into something that looks almost impossible for its century. And in the end, the most important reason it is famous is this. The map makes you feel that history still hides things, because it whispers that the world was understood earlier than we think. And even if it does not show Antarctica, it still shows the terrifying truth that knowledge can vanish, sleep for centuries, and return to shock the future. Now we reach the claim that turns the Piri Reis map into a legend, the idea that one section of the 1513 map may show Antarctica. And the moment you hear that, history feels like it cracks open, because Antarctica was officially sighted centuries later. So the mind instantly asks the same question. Could he have known it? The claim begins with the strange southern coastline drawn at the bottom of the map, a shape that looks unfamiliar, stretched, and haunting. And because humans love patterns, many people see in it the outline of a continent that should not be there. And once that seed is planted, it becomes almost impossible to forget. Supporters of the theory argue that this is not just any coastline, but an ancient representation of Antarctica, possibly even showing ice-free land. And they say that if this is true, then Piri Reis must have had access to far older source maps, maps from forgotten explorers, lost libraries, or even vanished civilizations. And that is exactly why the theory is so addictive, because it suggests history has secrets bigger than kings and wars. But the most honest way to examine the Antarctica claim is to ask what is most likely and what is most dramatic, because those two are rarely the same. And in serious historical scholarship, the dramatic version needs extraordinary evidence. The grounded explanation is that early mapmaking was not like modern cartography, because scale was inconsistent. Coastlines were stitched together from different sources, and southern regions were often distorted due to limited travel and unreliable latitude measurements, which means a coastline can look like something else when it is stretched, rotated, or incomplete. Another key point is that the Piri Reis map is only a fragment, not the full world map he created, so we are looking at a piece without its full context. And when a fragment is missing surrounding geography, the brain naturally fills gaps with imagination. Many historians argue that the so-called Antarctic coastline is more likely the southern continuation of South America, especially the region around Patagonia and Tierra del Fuego, drawn with exaggerated curvature and extended downward because the source charts were rough, and because in that era, some cartographers even believed in a southern unknown land that balanced the globe, so they often drew hypothetical coastlines to complete the world. This is important because it means the bottom of the map may reflect common medieval and early modern beliefs about Terra Australis, a legendary southern continent, rather than an actual surveyed Antarctica. Still, the Antarctica debate continues because there is one powerful psychological factor. The map is impressively detailed in other parts, so people assume the mysterious part must be detailed too. And when humans see competence, they assume perfection. But maps can be accurate in one region and distorted in another, especially when they merge multiple sources. The real mystery may not be whether Antarctica was drawn, but how information traveled so fast in the 1500s. Because even without Antarctica, the map demonstrates a network of exploration knowledge where Portuguese charts, Arab navigation, and Mediterranean intelligence flowed like secret currency. And Piri Reis collected it with precision. So the Antarctica claim becomes a mirror, not a conclusion, because it reflects our desire to believe in hidden histories, and it forces us to confront a deeper truth. Discovery is messy. Knowledge moves in fragments, and even accurate maps can contain fantasy. The question, could he have known it, might not be answered with a simple yes or no, but with a more unsettling idea that sometimes a single distorted coastline can ignite centuries of myth, and sometimes the myth becomes more famous than the map itself. And whether Antarctica is truly there or not, the claim still serves a purpose because it keeps the map alive, it keeps people curious, and it reminds us that history is not a closed book, it is a shadowed hallway, and every time you think you've reached the end, you find another door. So, did Piri Reis really draw Antarctica? Maybe, maybe not, but here's the real point. This map forces us to face something unsettling. History is not as complete as we think, because even if that southern coastline is only a distortion of South America, even if the Antarctica theory is just a myth, the Piri Reis map is still extraordinary. A man in 1513 gathered fragments of knowledge from across the world, Portuguese charts, Arab navigation, ancient sources, whispers from sailors, and turned them into a map that still shocks modern eyes. And that's why this story matters. Not because it proves Antarctica, but because it proves something deeper. Knowledge can be lost, truth can be hidden, and sometimes, history remembers through ink. So the next time you hear the word discovery, ask yourself, was it discovered or was it simply remembered? If you want more hidden stories like this, subscribe and follow the enigmatic veil, because the past is never silent, it's waiting. If you enjoyed this mystery, don't leave yet, because history is full of hidden maps, lost knowledge, and secrets that never truly died. So make sure to like this video. It helps more than you think. Subscribe to the Enigmatic Veil for more science history stories, forbidden discoveries, and forgotten legends. And comment below. Do you believe the Piri Reis map shows Antarctica? Or is it just a powerful illusion? Your answer might change how others see this story. See you in the next hidden chapter.